Abu Abu Yabu Shishe, to all the fellow Awos, Alafia to the new Ifa devotees. Um, we are here today with another episode of the Sheshe Post with my co-host, Baba Risha Bami. How you doing today, man?
Doing good. How about yourself, Baba?
I'm good. I'm good. I can't complain.
Shit.
We have a special guest today, Iya IfaTola. Yeah, yeah, yeah. How are you? What's going on in your world? How you feeling today? We're glad to have you on.
Oh boy, I told. Thank you. And I am feeling really good, energized, you know, just ready and having a wonderful week of meeting new people, doing new things. That's always going to be a favorite for me. Just happy to be here with you too, to talk about some things today. So I'm excited.
Shit.
So really go into exactly who you are and what you do.
Ooh, Lord. How much time we
You got time today.
got? Well, I am Iya IfaTola Oya Igbewale from Yatambi, uh, or Asia, if you know me from around the way. I am native of New Orleans, so you will hear a lot of ain't gots and you heard me and baby. I've been in Georgia for 5 years now, and besides feeling that I am absolutely in the right place as a priest of Oya, Ifa, and Egbe. I'm also an artist. That multi hyphenate thing, all that means ever is you're creative and you do too much. uh, but so yeah, that is the long story short. Mother, grandmother, um, just community advocate. I do so many different things, but all of them indeed align, and I make sure that they do.
Ashe, Ashe.
Shit.
So we want to touch on you being an author. Tell us about some of the books that you have out as well, and ones that you have on the way, and what you do in your community to also help other authors as well.
Sure. Um, so the two books that are currently on the table, um, to go backwards, the first is called Oshun's Book of Mirrors, which is a children's book that I did some years ago. And let's just say it was written by accident. I'll tell you about that later. But it was written by accident, but definitely there was intention in its purpose, which was simply to encourage our young ones to see who they are from the most authentic place, right? The second book is actually called The Book of Mirrors, and it was written with a lot more intention and not by accident because as the first book was being finished in post production, I started thinking about the mamas, aunties, sisters, daddies, brothers who would be reading this book to these children. And in doing the work that I do, I definitely thought about who are they in that space? Are they able to authentically connect to the messaging so that they can impart this to these young people? And for them to do that from a progressively healing place.
Mm.
So, the Book of Mirrors is actually a workbook journal based on my experiences. Um, not from oh, I'm finished healing, but rather a continuously, building place. So I created the workbook so that people would have a tool, like a real tool, like a hammer, to get in there and dig in. Shadow work, as people call it. I believe the shadow work has to be done with the light on.
Mm.
So a lot about where a person's been, who they are, why they believe what they believe, dealing with traumas. You have to do that from a place of illumination. So those two books were born. And they were born and released in the middle of the pandemic. So there will be a lot of re-releasing of these books. And, yeah, because it was done very quietly.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So as far as like helping community wise, with other authors, talk about 9 Pages Media.
Yeah. Well, going back to New Orleans, many years ago, I worked in the community as a spoken word artist and with lots of different nonprofits and initiatives and in education and all this stuff. And in the midst of all of that, I was actually publishing my own book back then. This was in 2004, I want to say. And just as it's still the same now, it's very, very difficult for most people, definitely people of color, to be published or even to get the interest of a publisher, large publisher. I knew it especially because with something like the subject matter back then that I was publishing was poetry. They literally laugh,
Yeah.
So yet I had a network, I had a community who was asking me for this work. I wanted to do so, and I wanted to do it well.
Mhm.
Edited or presented industry standard, if you want to call that. In other words, that it was a legitimately produced work besides the work itself, being. So I did mine first. I was, my own client, and that blossomed into helping other people. The more and more I learned, studied the process, not just of the editing and the formatting of it, but to bring in other Black professionals who did everything from visual art, illustration, photography, design, to help with that process. I learned from them at the same time. And it just kept going. So next thing you know, I got people coming to me saying, "Can you do mine?" I did that very casually for quite some time until I looked around and saw it was over 25 titles. So at this point, this is where I'm right on the precipice of beginning to actually publicize, publishing company now, right now. And to tell people about what I do, to begin to push said authors more, myself from a marketing arm with that company, and to tell people what we do, because the focus is Black genius as a whole. The many ways in which we show up that are amazing, phenomenal. It's brilliant ideas and artistry, right? So that's everything that I'm supporting inside of that brand.
Sure. I love it. As far as the first book, I know you said that it came to you on accident. I feel like you and I got a comment because my first book was the same exact thing. It was a children's book, and it was like I feel like it was a divine download. Like the whole story, message, everything came in one night. I wrote it down in one sitting, and it was amazing. It took a while before I finished it, but it was definitely something I felt like was transmitted from spirit. But like for you, you said yours was done on accident, so I know there's a lot of people out there watching and listening who want to write a book, but they don't have the confidence, or they might just not feel like they have the ability to write a book. So when you say yours was by accident, like what kind of inspired that accident? Like what kind of was the nucleus for you to put that project out there?
You know what? I love the way you phrase that question. And I will first say I'm probably a little different with that accidental part because I've been writing for a very long time, right? And so as a writer and performer and all this stuff, I already writing is a muscle to me. And so if you're constantly working this muscle, then that means just like anything else, that movement is much easier, falls out of you, with ease. So with that being said, I encourage writers to develop a process so that happens. Now, my story, however, I was asked by a professor at the University of Mississippi to do something that I usually do not do, which is to show up at a children's party and do something for the children. Uh, I've read books for the children, but like many artists, I can't do anything easy. So what did I need to do? I needed to write my own story. So I went back and thought about it, sat on it for about a month,
Mm.
just letting spirit move around in my head. And then it was either the night before or 2 days before,
Mm.
in the middle of meditation and prayer, and the story just fell out. So I got the next day, I made it look nice, but it was, on paper and story to the kids, and they, jumped up and happy, and I'm like, okay, wait a minute. But shared it with a very good friend of mine, another poet, and just sharing. And she said, "You need to publish this." I'm like, what? And why the hesitation? Only because it wasn't the direction at the time I was even concerned about. It was more poetry or other types of narrative messaging, but it made sense at the same time.
I see.
Now it is actually intended to continue as a series of books, where this is the first one that connects with the energy of Oshun. The others would continue to connect with that Orisha.
I see. That's what's up. That's dope. And I'm glad you said that, because I think that's one of the biggest things with people in general. I think is fear, or always wanting things perfect. Like even like this platform getting started, I didn't think I was ready to start the channel that we're on, but it's like I felt like I got challenged by elders that was like, hey, we need to do this, da da da. So it's like I just said, all right, let's go, and then it kind of falls into fruition, and then now Baba Nidi and then several other people who come on a regular, like we all collaborate on a regular basis. So it's like now it's not even about having to do all the heavy lifting, because I feel like spirit kind of brings us all together, you know what I mean? Like to alignment, to kind of make these things happen. And then even with the Shango and Oya, with the Balagoon, Office of Balagoon, Shango sponsoring this show, Shango Ni, and then, you being here. So it's like, I feel like it's all alignment, and it's all, divine. Like it's all divinity.
Absolutely. And I mean, what you said about perfection, that I like perfect. I like perfection. Is that perfect is a verb, meaning I'm constantly doing it, right? So I'm not getting too stuck on what I think perfect is supposed to be. And I tell people, I've taught creative writing and stuff like that, and I'm always telling people, that now sounds cliche, but it's not. It's not about the destination; it's about the journey. But it really is. In the writing process, sometimes people will write and they don't know when to end the thing. But is the thing, does it? Meaning,
Right.
even every good story could keep going, let alone a poem or a song. And I think even when people say they have writer's block, I was talking to someone about it the other day, and I'm saying that I don't believe in it simply because we typically don't have a blockage that's coming from external. It's about the one word you said about fear. Fear, is this going to be right? Is this going to be well received? Spirit answers that question. It's your job just to get it out. Let somebody else help you perfect it. Right? So.
That's shit. Yeah. So this is I know you probably get this question a lot, but and you may not, but I really want to put emphasis on you being a woman in the world of publishing, because you don't it's not common.
Mm-hmm.
So I want you to, really talk about, what is that like for you, and how has that experience been, and you know, really expound on that, because it's different and you don't really see it.
Well, it's been real, and I know it's about to get realer. I'll say that because one, um, first and foremost, I'm a nerd. English major, nerd, all of the things, and so this was a comfortable place for me, even as an artist, to step into. However, as a woman, and then doubly as a Black woman, you're gonna get questioned a lot. I sometimes get questioned by other sisters about whether I'm able to do or produce what I say that I will.
Mhm.
Sadly, we get used to that bag, you know, and that's me operating pretty much in the shadows for the last decade. So
Mm.
the fact that I'm about to, as the children say, pop out, you know, I know it's going to get more interesting because I know it's not just an anomaly for a woman to be in this field. It's even smaller of a percentage of Black.
Mm.
Um, I I'm ready for it though. Meaning it's why I even said that I wanted to make the sort of byline of 9 Pages Media at this point Black Genius, because I know that for a fact that I've been able to have the experience as a Black woman, the way that we nurture, show up in the divine feminine and everything else, to see and bring out the best of. That's always our job, to raise the children, to help us, or what in whatever iteration it may be. I do the same thing in this work.
Mm.
I get a publication, someone's manuscript. This is somebody's baby. So I'm taking it and I'm nurturing it. And so as far as I'm concerned, I'm very soon going to be in a room full of majority white men. And I intend to walk in that room and show them how to raise these babies.
That's it. I love it.
Hey man, that's so awesome. So and I know you and your husband are like a 1-2 combo. You know what I mean? But I love I love that because he's also an author as well. So talk a little bit about that as far as you and your husband being such a powerful combo when it comes down to you publishing and him being an author and you also being an author. What is that like for you all?
It's like everything, it has its balance. So I read something yesterday, I want to say, that said um, creatives have to be very careful about who they marry because those other people tend to not understand you at all. They think you're
Right.
crazy. Why are you wasting your time? You're doing
That's
this little blank. The little always come before the blank. All the things. And so I think that us, and you see what our life looks like from that artistic standpoint, we had to marry another creative person in order for that relationship to really, be able to have a sense of space,
mm.
sense of I belong, that I'm on my path, you understand my path, and you support my path. So doing a lot of different things. We support each other. We're each other's cheerleader for sure. Each other's biggest fan, and at the same time, each other's best critic.
Mm.
Um, we've created music together. We've done poetry together and performed. Um,
Mm.
he designs jewelry, but often I'm over his shoulder saying, "Do it like that," And he, at the same time, will, give me feedback on so much that I do, and so we very much work together in the inspiration process, in the building, constructing process of the different things that we do. There's a lot of overlap. Um, but yeah, it's beautiful though. This is like being in the fun house all day long.
That's it.
Oh yeah,
until it's not.
oh, yeah.
That's powerful. I think just what you said alone, the very beginning of that answer, that's a whole nother show. I feel like that could be a whole nother episode because when you talk, you'd have to be a creator or an artist in some shape, form, or fashion to really, really have like that answer resonate the way it does. But that resonated very deep with me because it even so much, not even just a husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, significant other relationship, but any relationship for that matter, especially a business relationship. Like you definitely need to know that you're going into that agreement and that relationship with someone who has the same vision, the same, values, interests, principles, etc. Because if not, it's going to be all balanced and you won't be able to truly flourish because if they don't have the same vision and the same desire and dedication that y'all, the two of you have, and to be able to see that and to recognize that and to nurture that within each other, it can really, really be something that can kind of put you against, like swimming against the tide. You know what I mean? Because it's like you're trying to do this and you're trying to do it by yourself, but you're with somebody, but they don't see it and they don't support it. So it's like, then it's like they kind of like might not even be with you or for you for your vision. Like that could really be something that could be detrimental in terms of the relationships.
Absolutely. And again, this is how everything aligns, always comes back to spirituality. But as that priest and Ifa practitioner, I firmly believe that even though we call them different things and we have different rules, standards, or whatever form, relationships are all the same, right? And within what you just said, the family dynamics, everybody on this podcast right now, unless you grew up maybe like you need or Shango need in a family that practices this already. Most you are the black sheep. You're weird. You're crazy. You're this. You're that. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
And, to be that person in the family until they get you is fun. Sometimes what I know is they never do.
Yeah.
Me, for example, I know you have to know the kind of family I come from in New Orleans. I have a beautiful balance of hood and bougie. The hood is from what I'm about to say. And they would look at me, in my little African clothes, and I'm not wearing what everybody wears or doing, everything is football or this and that. Like who are you again? And what planet did you come from? But here's the thing. Then as soon as I did something that they felt was noteworthy, oh, that's my cousin. That's my baby. That's right there.
Wow.
But until then, you were just weird.
Mm-hmm.
But finding your tribe, finding your people, your family, those who do understand, besides the mate, is so valuable. To continue to seek those people out, because you need to be surrounded by people who understand.
Man, you know what? I'm glad that you said that, because with you putting quotations on being a black sheep, how's that transition been like for you, especially now you've been servicing people as well, and having an elay and things of that nature. Like what does that look like, as far as you having your own family unit, but your family on the other hand doesn't really know or have the I guess you could say, like, capacity to try to learn exactly what you do?
Well, first part is I have a name for the environment that I now have.
Mm-hmm.
I call it the island of interesting people,
Yes.
where most of us kind of people, we've been on this island all of our lives. And it may have been surrounded by a big fence or some hedges or something where we couldn't see on the other side. So we thought we were on this island by ourselves. That was the feeling to me of being the black sheep. And then after a while, maybe the fence falls down, or there's a storm, it blows over some bushes or something. Then you start to see you have neighbors. These neighbors are people like first they were the artists, the arts community. Then I noticed on the other side of the island, oh, this is Ifa people. And you start finding different pockets of folks that align with who you are. The funny part is now my family visit this island, when they're ready. And they've done so bit by bit. The less, what's the word, insulated I was over time about my practice, the more curious they actually did get. For instance, I remember the time very long ago when they were like, "You're not gonna straighten your hair? What's wrong? What's wrong? Why is your hair so?" To both of my sisters eventually, gradually going natural. It didn't. And so those small changes. Now they're not over here with an SU at the door at this point, but they've done a little reading. They respect. Okay, this is something that's indigenous, and so all those different things. It's been piece by piece, And because I have no desire to indoctrinate and change everybody's minds and stop them from practicing whatever they practice, because I'm not dogmatic in that way, I think the door stays open to whomever. If you want to know, sure, I'll talk to you about it. And I still connect with you because I'm going to meet you where you are.
Sure. I can relate wholeheartedly with that. That's exactly how my journey and path has been as well. In terms of like people who are interested. And it's so funny that you say that too, because small wins count. You know, it starts with the hair. It might be the clothes next, or it might be the jewelry. It might be crystals. You never know. But it's like it's a small, gradual process. And the way I look at it, I've always shared with people, it's like I feel like everybody's alarm is set at a different time, but eventually I feel like we're all going to wake up, you know, at least most people for that matter. You know what I mean? It's just like their alarm clock might be a little different than, you know, the rest of everybody's alarm clocks. But with you being a Oya, priest of Oya, and then with her and her significance in the marketplace as well as transformation and, you know, rebirth, like how do you feel like Yeye has kind of impacted your life, not just from your spiritual journey, but also how I'm pretty sure you probably were able to merge, you know, some of the things that you have with her spiritually into the business aspects of your life. So how do you feel like she's kind of impacted both of those avenues for you?
Even though I personally feel that we are not this Orisha, that Orisha. At the same time, there's two sides to it for me. It's that one, yes, we can embody and mirror that energy, but it's also very much about you sign this contract. This is your path that said this is your contract. And these guardians saw that contract and said, I'm gonna have to rock with you. You know, you're gonna need not that you won't need all of this energy, because you will, but this is the energy that's going to be prevalent, repetitive, necessary, vital to you being in alignment with your high self. So with that, I'm probably the most cliche Oya. And purposely, I'm born 9/9.
Wow.
My favorite colors have been purple and dark red and stuff like that all my life, way before I knew an Oya, a Shmoya, nothing yet. And if we did really have the longer time to talk about my life path, where I've been, what I've done, the kind of jobs I've had, and the interesting part is, it's not, I tell people, it's not just because businesswoman or an entrepreneur. Oya in this marketplace, the marketplace is all of this. Right? And so the fact that I've had to navigate so much of all of this, to me, is that I needed that energy to be on this path with strength, be on this path without fear, but at the same time with discernment and wisdom, to be connected. I firmly feel that Oya has gave me a certain level of sight that is necessary for me to still work right now. Even though I was never stupid, I found myself as a young person in some very, very rough situations where I should not have been here, right? And I not only survived, but I retained the lessons from so much of it. That was Oya. Her governing that energy of change and my ability to be able to navigate that gracefully, right? Be able to pivot when need be without being stuck in some sense of rigid, this is who I have to be. Oh, she's absolutely held me up, with all of that. And that's where my gratitude sits with my mother for forever. And that continues to permeate throughout my family life, my Elay, my godchildren, everything. I would say that Oya's energy, especially my path within Oya with ancestors, has been important as well. both the healing of my own lineage, which on both sides, mother and father, was very important. What I've grown to understand is I really do think that the renaissance of Ifa diasporically now, especially now, is about ancestors placing us strategically in our families to set those clocks, as you
Mm.
said, and wake people up. Even if they don't become those E5 practitioners and so on and so on, it's about healing some of these family lines and the traumas and the uh, paying some of these debts and so on and so on and so on. The prevalence of Abiku and all these different things that sit within our families, I feel that Oya has helped me to first deal with so much of this in my own family, and then to be able to be of service to so many who are the person in that family, who
Mm.
need to be that beacon, that worker, that listener, the challenger, the questioner in their own family as well. So, you know, I give thanks for her opening that in me, trusting me with that um, job as well. And I continue to grow in it, learning every day.
That's
Our
good.
yacht did not come with a manual. So it's definitely been paying attention.
Mm.
Yeah, who explain to the new people who may be watching the channel, who is Iya Oya?
Well, as we said, Oya is the owner of the marketplace. Again, we're talking about everything, and within that, as well as the energy of exchange. If you think about business and marketplace, what are you doing in that sense of marketplace? It is a constant exchange. Well, everything is a constant exchange. Oya when we say she governs change, we're talking about the spirit of transformation, the fact that without her energy, everything would be homogenized, everything would be the same. Um, Brings from on a molecular level the ability for for matter to shift and change. Um, when we talk about uh, ancestral worship and understanding, she sits on that line and hears both sides. She's a part of that conversation. That's very important. When we think about, well, people say that the spirit of the wind, they forget that wind is also in our lungs, air. She governs breath, which is so much about life, about speech, about voice. So from the breath to the wind to change in terms of the storm and the way storms come through and will change everything, i.e., Hurricane Katrina and so many others. Uh, Within the, the 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 governance of the storm, to me, she speaks so much to our resilience, our ability to weather those storms, our ability to even not only navigate it, but to understand and discern what must be done once the storm has passed. She helps us, well, that's what I meant by she helps us to walk through those things gracefully, right? It's everything can change, but if we're not ready to move with that wind, we just get blown away, right?
Mm.
People tend to know about things like Oya being royal, or Oya in terms of the depictions of. There's so much that is deeper than that, so much that is more than about the color purple or this and that. When we really start getting into a conversation about um, her as a mother, what kind of mother she is to me, whereas you you may think of Oshun energy, you think of birth and sweetness, you think of Yemoja, you think of the nurturing. Well, Yah is the one that lays it down in terms of the law, in terms of, oh, this is how we're gonna run this house. You're
That's it.
gonna earn the day energy.
That's it. Big mama.
Yeah, so that's the Oya energy in there. Children of Oya, they tend to be the black sheep on another level. Sometimes hard to understand, sometimes gravely misunderstood. Um, I've also noticed that many women, when you tell them that their head is Oya, they feel away. Does that mean I'm manly because they call her the bearded one and riding buffaloes and fighting with next to Shango? Like, I don't want to be, I don't want to look like that, feel like that. And I've heard myself often say, sis, this is not about, in other words, she wears that beard because she's able to balance between the divine masculine and feminine in a very beautiful way. It does not make her a man. She knows was a husband. Let's put it like that. But everything from her being that warrior is, what is she fighting? How is she fighting? Not what she looks like. Right? So unfortunately, those depictions sometimes make her seem less feminine and so on, but that is not the case. That's the tip of the iceberg, I suppose, for me, as far as what that definition looks like. There's all the other things, and numbers 9, any of the things that she favors in terms of offerings, but I like to talk more about what that is.
I say. Yes, she's a very powerful deity. I shared a story, I don't know, about a month or two ago on one of the episodes about an experience that I had with her recently. And we were appeasing the ancestors for someone that I work with. And I just recall, I'll never forget, in the process of appeasing them, it was several different ways nature communicated with us throughout that day. But when it came to appeasing the ancestors, it was kind of like a overcast came over the sky, and it was like a really nice, calm, soothing wind. I was like, oh my God, like it was just so surreal. I mean, it was like literally in alignments, with the cadence of the prayer and the offering, everything. It was just like, it was amazing. And I'm just like, yo, and the person, that I was working with, they're a priest of Obatala, so they knew what it was too. So we just looking at each other like, yo, this is really happening. But you could just feel it. And it wasn't forceful. It wasn't strong. I'm in Florida, so we see and feel the real strength of her on a regular basis. But even talking to Nee the other day, I think he's like, man, I got another storm going on, bro. I'm like, man, it's almost every day down here because it's a lot. But it's powerful. And, just the way, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I just had to ask. So when you felt that breeze, the wind, what did you feel like that?
I felt like the best way I could describe it, I felt like, I use a metaphor as if me and the client I was working with, I felt like, to me, metaphorically speaking, I felt like it was almost like she was holding hands with us, embracing the whole ceremony, and connecting us with the ancestors, that we were appeasing, as well as letting us know that, yes, the offerings are received, the blessings, the E-ray will come, the transformation will happen, et cetera, et cetera. I just felt like it was confirmation. And even now, I feel like just a sense of like emotion pouring over me now just talking about it, because it was just so surreal and it was so powerful. And I asked, could I share, that happening on, the channel, because it meant something to me. I'm like, oh, this is powerful. And I had another experience with her when I actually went into Ifa in Nigeria in March. And the storms were unbelievable. And I felt it. And I'm a child of Oya as well. That's my mother. And so throughout that whole 3-day ceremony, going into Ifa, it stormed every day, and they were powerful storms. And we were, we were told that those were the first storms of the year in Nigeria. And not just that, but they don't normally get storms that time of the year. So the fact that all that happened, I know on a personal level, like she's powerful. She's extremely powerful. Extremely powerful.
Yeah. I will say that Katrina, to me, was the epitome of, if you want to study Katrina and its impact. I was just thinking the other day about how, after all this time, I consider the fact that I left New Orleans with one suitcase, not filled with clothes, but filled with notebooks, because my intention was to do some editing for the weekend while we were gone, right? So I left with nothing. Since then, to look around with gratitude at what I do have now is surreal, only because I know that there was a point where there was nothing. And there was a question mark. What do you want now? What do you want to shift and move and create and manifest now? How much does what you lost matter? Does any of it matter? Is this time to redefine or reassess the need and so on? So all of this, call it an Odu for Oya, is saying that the stories of it, the many, many stories that you will hear, tell you about this is how you are navigating change and how Oya will guide you through it. And even within that, teaching you what the embracing of that change, which is coming, no matter what you say, how to do that. Well, because at the same time, from the bigness of a storm all the way to the softness of a breeze. So one thing about a breeze is very seldom will you be outside doing something and a breeze comes and you don't pay attention. It sometimes catches you off guard, but you feel it. When those breezes come, I always feel like that's a moment where the universe is telling you to pay attention to something significant. It's meant to stop you in your tracks and tap you on your shoulder. So I'm sure that in those moments in Nigeria for you, that was something that needed your, specific focus, some remembrance. Yeah, she tends to do that.
She did it. I was in a trance for like a 20-30 minute span throughout one of the storms. It was amazing. Like, it was utterly amazing.
Yeah. Can we talk about this relationship between Oya and Shango? Shango. We gotta talk about this relationship between the two, because there's a lot of people who don't know. You know what I mean? And there's some people who need to really be educated on what that is. So I definitely want you to talk about that, and then we're gonna get into this freedom project as well, because I know that's a really special project to you. So, but first we got to talk about this Oya and Shango relationship.
Well, to understand the relationship, I think we just talked about Oya, but it's making sure you then understand Shango and all of those attributes that, again, can sometimes fall too much on the surface with this gift of gab or virility or strength and masculinity and all this stuff, right? But if you got that part, you understand, the thunder and stuff. Oya gave him that thunder, right? I've always seen that as significant. It's not a widely known or sometimes even talked about the most part of the deal. It's not about, oh yeah, I gave you that. No. It's saying that she, I believe, was his favorite because she gave him that much strength when he needed it. She was his back. She was the one, like, the ride or die, what's up? And I mean, this is me being, hood bougie. In my brain, if I think about the Patakis and so on, I imagine that, of course he loved Oshun. She's beautiful and she dancing and she's singing and she's doing it. Now she's powerful and she's a fighter and warrior too, just in a different way. When he needed the one who's going to put the bandana on with the tennis shoes and, that, the brass knuckles in the purse, that is the Oya energy to me with Shango. And as that king, as that force, she also needed to be his balance, needed to be what calms that flame sometimes. I could reckon it to my own marriage, my husband being the son of Shango, right? Very often I will say when we argue, I ask him a question. How do you stop a storm? You don't.
Yeah, no comment.
Is that the point? You don't. And that you do sometimes have to wait until that storm is dissipated. Right? Flames can be put out, but but even the message comes in the element itself. How many times have you seen someone try to put out flames and some other flames pop up somewhere else, right? That they tried to put out a fire and it made the fire bigger, and so on and so on. If you look at all the attributes of those things, to me, Oya works with his fire. She's not afraid of it. She helps him to use it to warm, to nourish, to feed when necessary. She brings his gift gab to places where it is productive and not dangerous or threatening, right? It's so many things like that to me, that those two energies come together and create. Him in the marketplace is a fool, you know. And I appreciate when people get, you know, the what's the word, the potential of bringing that Shango and Oya energy together, especially when it comes to the arts, talking about drumming and talking about movement, things like that, to the workplace, to the market. It's just so much potential there. But then there's potential in a lot of different, let's just say, couplings or connections in between different Orisha, but theirs is very special.
Wow.
I got one quick question before we go to the freedom thing, because what you said, I wanted to ask it earlier, but what you just said just now, I feel like is a perfect segue. So there's people who I know that are in the tradition who I feel like are in it for the right reasons, and they want to find that kind of reconnection or that lost connection of reconnecting with, our traditional heritage and cultural, practices, etc. But I feel like there's some people that's involved that might have made a few steps into the culture and religion, but they might not necessarily still have a true profound belief of the religion and the power of the tradition, and how it really is miraculous, how it really is something that can be, immediately transformational. Can you share a moment with us that you've experienced that you knew for a fact of the true sheer power of Orisha or Ifa or Isheshe in your life, where you knew it was like a miraculous moment or some sort of, something that for a fact it took the supernatural power, of the energy of the deities to kind of make that moment to, kind of come to fruition or to manifest?
That's a very interesting question for me. So first, I'm going to say, in the present, I see it all the time. It's that word, I think, that some Ifa practitioners or people who are coming towards it, they don't like, because it sounds like what they're maybe telling themselves they're trying to get away from, which is other religions that speak of faith. They don't like that because no. I want to know the facts. I want to know what it really is, and this to me is real. Yeah, it's real, but it still requires faith. It's to me just a different kind of faith, and this is when we are undoing dogma. And I'm not talking about blind faith. I'm not talking about believing for the sake of just believing. My Oluwo will often say that at the end of the day, did it work? Right? That's the first part. Evidence often comes in that way, but here's the thing: the did it work is the evidence. It's creating the faith, but first we actually have to be able to recognize how it works. That's the trick. Because here's the thing: say so, I have a client that comes to me, or godchild, I want to make $1 million. That's nice. Let's go ask and see where that's at. And the answer is not right now, in so many words, right? Well, this doesn't work. I should be a millionaire. I feel like that's my purpose and my path. And so what's wrong with, is this thing on? Is it broken? But the first part is understanding the real faith is looking at Orunmala's job to see your panoramic, where you cannot see it. And to understand that the potential for maybe that $1 million or that mate or whatever it is, that may be on your path, but there are a number of crossroads you need to stand at and have the right discernment and decision making to get there. Or it just might not be on your path. Whatever the case may be, however, The faith comes in when you learn how to pay attention to the signs and symbols on your path towards not just what you want, but what is in alignment with your Ori. That's two things, right? So the alignment with your Ori may not be that $1 million, but it may be abundance in other ways. It may be comfortable. It may be living in balance. It could be a lot of things that would bring you that happiness and joy. That $1 million might make you a meth head or an asshole. I don't know if we can say that.
You can.
You know, so then it's, however, instead of just the big things, and this is the important part, instead of just the big things that we say, well, that makes me say it works. I saw the evidence. I love when I hear from my godchildren or clients and they call me back and they say after some reading or conversation that they got confirmation through simple things. And I'm laughing because they'll call me every other day with these things, and I love to hear it because to them it was a coincidence. It was so mystical. And I'm like, not really, not really. This is, and I'm saying to them, this is like, in other words, your ancestors at your altar. Sorry that there are no fireworks. Sorry that there's no floaty people in there going ooh with incense and the head wraps and no. Your ancestors are communicating with you when that friend calls you and says exactly the thing you need to hear. When all of a sudden this check is in the mailbox that doesn't even make any sense. When this job now comes up, when you've been looking for it for a year, and so on and so on and so on. Sometimes it's even less subtle, even more subtle than that. We learn how to pay attention and know what to pay attention to, and that builds the faith when you understand what to look for. I hope it makes sense.
It does. I share.
Well, now that we're on that subject, I feel like we're gonna go a little bit over the day, a little bit, just a little bit. You know what I mean?
Who am I to argue with my mama? We're going as long as you say we're gonna go.
No, because I love it, man. Because
it's dope.
So now that we're on that, really, talk about following the needle. So talk about those coincidences when people come to you for readings or certain things happen in their life. How important is it to follow the needle when you get readings or you feed your ori or whatever the case may be? How important it is to follow the things that impact you when you get a reading, because a lot of people get readings and they don't follow the trail of ants with exactly what's going on. So definitely, I want you to talk about that and so people can really understand what that is.
There are a number of Odu that talk about follow the advice of Ifa, be obedient, do this work, and so on and so on. There's also, I can't think of a single Odu that doesn't have the same one word in it, and that's sacrifice. People expect the universe to give them everything without giving much in return. But what that sacrifice entails is absolutely not just chickens and goats. It is very much sometimes the sacrifice of ego, sacrifice of your time, sacrifice of even what you say you want right now, and so on and so on. There's a lot of fear sitting on that mat with people, and I understand it. Even the concept of my reading is in Oshobo, oh no, that means everything's bad. I say to people often, what it actually means is that there's something in resistance to your array. There's some obstacle sitting in the way of your array, and it is the diviner's job to move that, help you to remove or move that resistance, right? Especially if the resistance is you. So at the end of the day, it's very much trying to say to people, well, we say you have to do the work. Often I think when folks come to us, and I'm going to say it's clients, but not just clients, but also some practitioners too, they expect the priest to do it all. Well, go get the chicken. Well, wash my head. What? Da, 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 da. I'm a firm believer that none of this works without your work. That, in other words, there is always a cost that is personal. There is always adu, ebo, whatever, however you want to call it, that is from within you. It's never absent. That ori has to start getting in alignment. You have to deal with your stuff. You have to walk in good character. And so my almost, if you don't study nothing else, you study what the definition of Iwa really means. It is not just be a nice person. It is really walking in integrity, not just with other people, within yourself. You have to stop lying to you, right? And all these things. And so if, first of all, besides the chickens and goats, besides what this priest is doing, if you're not doing your part, you can't expect anything to change. It is saying to them, understand the balance between how we are able to shift energy through our work in this practice and what the onus is on the person, what it is that you need to do. And I'll never criticize anybody's practice or another priest. At the same time, I hope we start to have more conversations within this practice about what is ori, what is good character, and how much that matters. I don't care how much money or begging you bring to that mat for a thing. If you are not bringing your best self to the solution, it will not work.
Wow.
I love that answer. I'm glad you asked that question too, Nee, because that's powerful. I love that answer because so many times we've had guests on here and we speak about the significance, including Baba Shango, Nee and I as well, about the significance of Ori. And I think for me personally, I've seen it both ways. I've seen people who've gotten divination and got the messages and they've done the ebos, they've done the adi moves, they started working on the work of themselves, sacrificing, themselves and whatever came up that needed to be worked on, and how their next one goes into E-Ray, even if it was all Osobo before. And then I've also seen people who've had E-Ray or Osobo that didn't really do anything that was kind of prescribed to them, but yet they feel like they're not making any progress or they're not seeing any results. But you said it perfectly when you said the work don't work if you don't do the work. So it's like you can't say I'm gonna lose 20 pounds, but you're sitting at home chilling, eating French fries and donuts every day. Like, I mean, so how do you really expect to lose them 20 pounds? You know what I mean? And it's like, but how do you get that to your class and your godchildren, like to see the significance of doing the work? Like, how do you do
that? I've said often that just like even when your ancestors are sending you messages, I feel that they whisper in your ear.
Yes.
And they
Wait a minute. Start over. Say that one more time. Say that one more time for the people in the back.
Yes.
That first your ancestors will whisper in your ear, then they will tap you on your shoulder. They will kick you in your ass. Simply. And it's your ancestors, it's your guardians, it's your own ori that will send you these signs. The getting part is that you will know when you are in alignment. You will get so many signs that says, yep, this is right. And I'm not talking about whether or not it has challenges. I'm talking about whether the things that you ultimately need, if they're coming to you, okay, then this, I am in the right place. But I swear, I feel for the folks who refuse to see those signs and allow themselves to stay in a place of dogma, stay in a place of rigidity, stay in a place of, I'm waiting for the magic, to just do the job for me, because then I see them suffer in ways that they don't have to, right? I remember folks who, let's just say that the readings were coming to Shoko so much, but they felt like they were doing the work. What they were doing is they were feeding their Eshu, and they were doing Ibori, and they were saying these prayers, and they were going to the river and wearing their lekes every day. but that is not the work.
Mhm.
That is the ritual. Those are the reminders. Those are the implements that help the work, help us to connect to the work. Those are the tools. That is not the underlying and the foundation of your work as an individual. When it is devoid of that part of the way in which you are constantly trying to shift and change and simply be an improvement on your ancestors, if you're not doing that, then it's unfortunately where you're gonna see Wahala, where why is my life like this? Why can't things go right? Why can't I find this mate? You can. You know, we know it in those truths we find. Our birthright is happiness, right?
Mm.
So if you ain't happy, then that means it's time to re-examine.
Gosh,
Wow.
gosh.
So, okay, I know we got a little deep for people, you know.
We're supposed to be talking about books.
we got a little deep, so I'll fast forward things, but so let's talk about this freedom project, and also how Ifa navigated you through freedom.
Actually, a great segue from what we just said, though.
Yes.
So if you want confirmation, all right. So the song is first, which started off as a poem and evolved over a decade from that poem into music into this entire piece. I sat on it for a minute because I felt that the best way to present this um, was through a visual project.
Mhm.
But frankly, I had no idea how that was going to happen because that's expensive. To film anything unless it was going to be with my iPhone, but that wasn't what I knew I wanted, right? And it wasn't that I wasn't being realistic or anything. It was just really, I don't know. And until I see a path, we'll be patient, which is also part of being that practitioner, right? Patience. The patience paid off. First, I just started to speak this out loud, saying, I want to manifest this. This was in prayers to ancestors. How are we? I feel this is in alignment.
Mhm.
So the first part of that confirmation was calling a friend of mine I've been knowing for 20 something years, who teaches film at SCAD. And all I said to her was, can you find some student who'd be willing to work with me to do something? And that was in December. She said, all right, I'll let you know. A couple of weeks later, she calls me and she tells me that she'll do it. And she was able to do it with SCAD, with the resources from SCAD, because SCAD had just asked her to focus on music videos for that semester. So that was out of the blue. Now, understand, for her to do this, this woman, her name is Nabila Lester. She's also an IFA practitioner, and she's been in the film industry for a couple of decades and already got films under her belt and so on. So for her to say yes, she brought SCAD's resources and her reputation. So next thing you know, I have a whole film crew. In pure Oya fashion, from January to about what do we film in May or so, April. Um, we hit it from creating the storyboard to finding dancers and doing it. So everything was within a short span. 4 locations, and we created this visual that I think very well illustrates what the song and the poem is about.
Mhm.
To put that simply, um, it was born from after Katrina, trying to articulate that we are stronger than we think, and that it's very necessary for us to constantly ask ourselves the question, how are we trying to get free? What do we need to be free? How do we know it when we feel free? All those questions that I'm hoping it invokes.
Mhm.
And so just the alignment and the confirmation of it is the fact that every single time in this process I said that I needed something, the person or thing manifests.
Mm.
Just to make you laugh in here, I don't know if y'all old enough to remember these things, but someone was making some clothes for me. And how you say, bless her heart, but the sister didn't quite get one of the outfits right. And we joke and say it looked kind of like a Gordon Gartrell. Y'all remember? Y'all know what that is?
Maybe if I see it.
Yeah, Gort. We got to get on our phone and Google that.
Yeah, maybe if I see it, I might know it.
It is from an episode of The Cosby Show. If y'all go back and look at that, then you will understand and you will laugh and understand what I mean. But let it suffice to say it didn't turn out quite the way I was hoping. So not only did I find another seamstress, I found someone who was renowned for creating clothing for movies like Black Panther and others. And so this young lady, she knocked these clothes, but this was random. And the way that this lady went above and beyond without knowing me at all to create this stuff, every single piece, it was just one thing after another that it was definitely clear, okay, we're on the right track. This is fine. This needs to be done. So yeah, it's been a blessing from beginning to end. And right now we're in post-production, finishing the last touches, and we'll be planning for a premiere soon.
Sure.
That's what's up, man. And I'm glad to be working with you on these projects as well. It's definitely an honor. You, like I said, you and your husband, man, y'all are great individuals. You know what I mean? And I can't wait to see the project come out and how it's screening for it and all that good stuff. And you releasing more books and all that. So definitely, we definitely need to have you on again.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Listen.
we definitely have you on again. I know a lot of people are going to enjoy this one. And we're honored to have you on with us today, and we appreciate you.
Sure.
Thank you both. Thank you as well for what you do in making sure that these conversations happen where people have a safe and open place to learn these stories, learn about our Black genius and the ways in which we're doing that are not always mainstream.
Yeah.
So what you're doing, the efforts is very important. I think.
Sure.
Sure.
No, we appreciate it. So for the people, because I know we're about to wrap it up, for the people who want to look up your work and find your books and find, a lot of the different things that you've created and already put into the marketplace, how can they reach out to you and how can they connect with you if they want to maybe buy some of the books or just kind of check out some of your work?
Few ways. Instagram is probably the easiest for both. So for my personal / artistry, is Asia_Rainey_Ani. So Asia _RAINEY _ANI.
How do you spell Asia?
ASIA. And then for my publishing company, it's actually called 9 Pages Media. On Instagram, it's at the number 9 Pages Media.
I see.
Awesome, man. Well, this will definitely wrap up another episode of these Sheshe Posts. Iya, we appreciate you. We can't wait to have you on again. And Orisha Bami, I will see you shortly, my guy. And Kabiesi Shango to all the Shango practitioners out there. And we'll see you all again in another 5 days. Asha.
Asha.
Hey, Power, yeah.
Power, yeah, shit.